I am recapping episode 2 of the documentary. I am providing you with the facts to the conspiracy theory, or rephrase. I am sharing the important details slash a certain perspective of the conspiracy theory. I'm just saying it wasn't far fetched to me. That's all I'm saying. Cause I ain't leaving alone. Feel like I could be honest, babe. We both know that we're grown. That's why I wanna know. How many drinks would it take you to leave with me? Yeah, you look good and I got money, but I don't wanna waste my time. Hi, welcome to my bubble, where we do a little bit of adulting, a little bit of healing, and a little bit of creating. We are back again. We're back with episode 2 of Conspiracy Theories. If you didn't see episode 1, see, I'm smacking. Calm down, love. If you have not seen episode 1, we are talking about aliens right now. We can do all kinds of conspiracy theories. I've also discussed the conspiracy theory around Marilyn Monroe's death. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. So we're back with part 2 of the aliens. If you didn't know, reptile aliens run the planet. This is episode 2. So I watched episode 2 of the documentary, right? And this is what I got from the episode. So here's how they took over. Episode 2 is how they took over. So thousands of years ago, episode 2 starts by saying thousands of years ago, genetically advanced beings came to Earth, right? And they landed in what we now know as Sumeria. These quote-unquote gods came from the sky, right? The Akkadians called their predecessors Sumerians, and they often spoke of the land of Sumer, which is the biblical land of Shinar. Oh, disclaimer. I'm not the best with pronunciation, so excuse me if I'm butchering all of these. So the biblical land of Shinar, aka the land of the Watchers, is actually the Egyptian Ta-Natir, the quote-unquote land of the Watchers. That's just a representation of how spread out they were. Then if you think of Egypt's pantheon of gods, right? You have Ta-Natir is the name for the gods or the guardians / watchers. But Ta-Nathir is also the name of the Red Sea Straits, which is aka the place of the gods. That's what they called it. I don't know why I'm playing like I can see. So, okay, the way in Egypt, right, the way that they consider pharaohs to be like the god on earth, the Elohim I lost it. Damn it. The Elohim were the shining ones on earth, you know? Apparently a show called Stargate originated from this general concept. To fully understand what he's talking about, or to fully understand these concepts, just watch the documentary. It's a lot more detailed than I'm making it because I'm not going to make hour-long episodes. So you just got to watch the documentary to know the in-depth detail. I'm just dropping you the important parts to put together. Egyptians say they came from At-Ur, At-Ur, the oldest far foreign land, which is apparently the location where Abraham was trained, who started the yoke of mainstream religion. And billions of people to this day still represent this religion. That's what they say. That's what they say. And then they also made it a point he called out the narrator of the documentary pointed out that, the Catholic Church is located in the Vatican, aka the abode of serpents. Okay? So when these reptilian aliens, if you saw episode 1, you get it. When these reptilians landed, they were seen as gods, and they were worshipped by a primitive man. So then the documentary starts going into all these details, and because if you know that all language is basically linked. Like some people who know Spanish will say that learning French is easy because it's the same, and then everything derives from Latin, blah, 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 blah. So we go into, then we start defining / go into, we make a word bank starting with Elohim, which is AKA the shiny ones. One more time. Elohim, referring to the quote unquote shiny ones who governed the watchers. So there's somebody above the watchers. Okay. The Old Testament uses Elohim in representation. Okay, yes, the Old Testament interprets the word Elohim for quote unquote for the Lord, which is actually plural in reference to the shiny ones. Then in Genesis 1:26, it shows the plurality of it. Quote, "And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness." Genesis 6:2, "The sons of God say the daughters of men that they were fair." Sons of God's meaning Ben Ha Elohim, which is AKA literally the sons of gods, AKA the hybrids. We'll get to the hybrids, meaning like thousands of years ago. Wow, I did this all the way backwards. Okay. The general concept of episode 2 is saying how they took over, right? So episode 2 goes into how thousands of years ago, these genetically advanced beings, they came to Earth, right? And then the people that were already here looked at them as gods, and they were worshipped, by primitive men. So then these beings that landed, they mated with the humans and created a quote unquote special race, right? And then it's like the people that first landed and mated with the regulars, they left behind a hybrid group to lead the others, right? Sorry, I talk with my hands if you haven't noticed. Right? And then after the ones that were left behind to teach mankind, after that, then that's how human civilization, we lead to writing, we lead to art, science, engineering, architecture, and it's spread everywhere because they were everywhere. And it's like, and then it basically ends with, humans were once happy hunting and gathering people, and now they build pyramids and they cultivate land and they forge steel. And now all the way down to tiny computers in our hands. So now run all of that back. Then you start thinking about Egypt's pantheon of gods. I'm pretty sure it's one of the wonders of the world, isn't it? Then we go into the abode of serpents, the Vatican. Then we go into language, right? Because now, like I said, we start to see the development of writing. Well, writing leads to everything else, but we see the development of writing. Elohim, meaning the shiny ones who governed, aka the watchers. Oh no, the shiny ones being the ones who governed the watchers. Wow, slow down. The Old Testament's phrasing proves that Elohim is actually plural. Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Genesis 6:2. The sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. Sons of gods, meaning the hybrids. Okay. The Sumerian word, remember originally said that they landed in Sumeria. The Sumerian word El means bright or shiny. In Old Irish, Elil means shining. In Old Cornish, El means shining. Elf equals shining, which is why in not media, but yes, in media, movies, TV shows, we see the elves as the tall, mysterious, angelic beings. I'm not gonna lie, that kind of hurt my heart a little bit because I definitely just watched Rings of Power, and I'm kind of sad that I have to wait so long. But I was like, damn, I really love elves. Like, and in everything else, like I really do love elves, and I was like, damn, that hurt my heart, but just a little bit. The Incan term La means bright or to shine, and the Babylonian Ilu means to shine. Again, if you've been keeping track of all those languages and where they derived from, proof of just how spread out and how everywhere they were. Just, it's like an infection. Remember I said that. So then Baal, if you know your ancient religions, Baal, who is a deity spoken of as a lord in the Bible, Baal is seen as a shiny one in the Old Testament and called, quote unquote, the owner. And then a Masonic historian, General Albert Pike, says that Elohim were hosts of heaven, ascending and descending messages to and from God on a shining craft. And these tales are in all cultures, apparently. The Watchers were also called hybrids, were also called angels of the Lord. Yahweh Elohim, aka leader of the Shining Ones. So, okay, look. I'm not trying to ruffle no feathers. I'm just... let's rephrase that. I am recapping episode 2 of the documentary. I am providing you with the facts to the conspiracy theory. Or rephrase. I am sharing the important details / a certain perspective of the conspiracy theory. So I say that because my next note is Christianity, Judaism, and Islam's God is in fact the leader of the lights who came from the sky, which is actually the leader of the alien force that enslaved humanity. Specific details, dates, times, all in episode 2 of the documentary. You have to watch episode 1 to know what I'm talking about. Now that, I mean, my perspective, I'm just saying those are the most forceful and the most stuck in their ways and the most, like, you cannot tell them different religions to this day. That's all I'm saying. Okay, right? So then, like I said, they mated with the humans, right? So then when they're talking about that, they go into, so like I said, that the elders, the ones that originally like touched down, landed, had left. And they left behind the hybrids to watch over, right? So the elders departed, but the hybrids remained to teach everybody. Okay. In Greece, there are stories of serpent beings being involved in the concepts of the gods and the concepts of titans and humans. So, and it's the same thing. And the gods mate with the human slaves. And then all of the gods are described as having attributes of serpents. Right? And then there's apparently a biblical scribe, called the Enoch, which mentions the Watchers' names, which is all of reference to as all the holy angels who watch. Gabriel is the messenger who told of the birth of God and to pass on wisdom of Muhammad, right? Gabriel is in charge of the serpents. Ramiel is over those who rise, those who are seeking enlightenment. Okay, the slaves. Okay. In the Bible and the Book of Enoch, they are known as angels, archangels, or cherubim. Cherubim? Again, Sorry for pronunciation. Right? Okay. Okay. I don't look. I don't bang with religion enough to have read any of the Bibles. So that's my perspective. That's why I'm just giving you. That's what they said, not me. Let's keep going. Okay. So then the documentary basically acknowledges how all religions begin with historical tales of great lights that come to Earth. They teach the humans. They bring them out of the Dark Ages. They breed with them, and they establish rulers and or priests in every religion. Okay, so humans were then told to believe these religions, and they had to behave through certain violence and mind control, force, because they were like, what, why am I, what, oh, excuse me, they handled that, they nipped that in the bud, right? Okay. In all the religions, all of these people are told to worship the lights in the sky. They have to bow to their earth reps, the hybrids, and you were told to pay the priest for the ability to do so. Now, that was always my thing with going to church, like, because I both tried and was kind of forced into, like, having to be in the church life, and I just could never get past paying tithes. Like, I did in a little bit from the business perspective, and, like, my money mind gets it, but, like, in terms of pitching it to them as, like, not pay to have the right to be here, but, like, it just, like, paying tithes has never made sense to me from the, like, but and even with that, even aside from that, you always hear about church scandals and what they end up using the money for. So, but okay. All the religions also mention the land being stolen, and the people that were already present were told to pay to live upon it. To pay it back, we have to work every moment of our lives, just to then pay taxes to the relatives of the rulers and the priests. The ones in the government who make all the laws to keep us controlled. Okay. Make perfect sense to me. That's whatever, right? Keep going. And in all the religions, they are thrown into war against each other. They are told to build walls and or pyramids. And in each one, the slaves, those seeking enlightenment, were then tested upon and abused during each of the steps to enlightenment. Now, does that sound familiar? Being thrown into war against each other, being told to build walls, and you're being tested upon and abused during each step? Okay. But the hybrids ended up teaching us writing, and now we have all the different kinds of art. And look what science has done for us. Engineering, architecture, and the history of how the spread happened and how we evolved is heavily documented. So I leave that in your hands. But yeah, the whole point that the episode 2 was making is, like, humans were once just happy hunter-gatherers, and now we build pyramids and we cultivate land, and we handle temperatures that forge steel, all the way down to, then we have computers, then we have internet, then we have computers, then we have electricity. Like, this, we even skip so many steps, but, like, now we have all of that, all the way down to the phone that I'm using to record this right now. The Enoch, the scribe that we mentioned, the Enoch mentions Nephilim, aka the Watchers, who are basically the military angels who guarded the Garden of Eden, but began to mix with the indigenous people of the area. Again, they then created hybrid giants who would go on to teach combat and to make weapons. But of course, it was a crime for them to have mixed with the indigenous people. So, the shiny one said that that's not a thing. So I guess then they were taken, and then the new hybrids that they had made became, the new gods among men, whose bloodlines then go on to become the rulers, the kings and queens, the pharaohs and the high priests, the wizards and the magi. Because the bloodlines continue because time, right? Now the bloodlines continue, and there's still a concept of an elite bloodline whose aim is to maintain the purity of their kind, and they're bred within strict rules and claim the divine right to rule. Years and years and years and years later, eons later, humans haven't been around that long. Years later, these same families still maintain all of the wealth and the power, and they're running things in the civil service, and they're running the media, and they're running power companies, and the arms manufacturers, and the chemical plants, and the petrol producers, and so forth and henceforth and forthwith. Right? And then the documentary beckons you to think about it. Like, think. There are people who claim the divine right to rule from some imaginary being in the sky. And they actually rule. Like, they're actually in charge. In certain Republican states, the leaders are chosen not by the people, but by those in power. Now, part of you may be like, okay, and like, duh, the Most High anoints one specific, right? If that's how you look at life. My thing is then, like, you and them worship / believe in the same God. So why are you not in the same position as them? Why are you not in the same rooms that they're in? Why are you not part of the decisions that they make? Y'all worship the same God. Okay. I'm just saying it wasn't far-fetched to me. That's all I'm saying. And then apparently modern control begins in the 18th century, which is in reaction to the growing enlightenment of humans. Things were, since language had evolved and writing and scripture, people started making pamphlets and word started to spread about all these different things. And, the Watchers allowed it to happen, but it didn't go how they thought it was going to go. Printed word actually ended up granting the people, the slaves, knowledge, and it spread dissent, But even with that, nothing has changed. The elite still control the systems in place in both religion and in government, as well as all the companies that all the approvals must go through. Maybe if you're in their little club, you just gotta stick within the rules. There's strict rules. If you step out of line, you get put down. R.I.P. Queen Diana. What? The documentary mentions Richard Branson, who apparently he got a few million with an M. He got a few million, and he wanted to build all these different things. But, he needs permission to fly his planes and to open a business and to move trains. So if you step out of line, if you're not sticking to the rules, like, you can't build your stuff. Right? Okay. The republics, like the republic governments, are not excluded from that. Think how Hollywood works and how celebs and celebrities are all seen as royalty. Think about it, right? Even if you go watch my Marilyn Monroe story, like, It all really goes together if you pay attention, but you believe what you believe. Think about how Hollywood works, right? Stars that are no longer like all the, slow down. How do I say this correctly? Think of all the celebrities that like got blacklisted, right? All of these stars are no longer required for the big films because, you know, the same companies producing and creating these movies are run by the same elite. Oh, excuse me. And what blew my mind and made me a bit mad, but blew my mind more than anything, was all of the stars, like all of the big Hollywood names that are relatives of royalty. Ellen DeGeneres is the 15th cousin of Princess Kate Middleton. Angelina Jolie is the descendant of the kings of France. Brad Pitt is descended from King Henry II of England. Imagine, think like the power couple. That's no different from all the stories that you see of royalty marrying their children to keep peace and to keep an alliance formed. Like, imagine the damage that power couple did. Wow. Hugh Grant, I was like, oh my god, not Hugh. Hugh Grant is the descendant of King Henry VII of England. Brooke Shields is the descendant of King Henry IV of France. Uma Thurman is the descendant of King Edward I of England. And it just goes on and on and on and on. All of the elite under the next level of elite under all of the power plants and all of the blah 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 blah. In Hollywood, it's the executives that run the film, distribution, and studios. All of those people have the same descendantry as the stars I just named. And that's just the US. In the UK, apparently UK's BBC is run by multiple committees, all populated with the same boys club members that sit in the House of the Lords. They all own the land that we rent, buy, and blah 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 on. They all own the land, the buildings, and the companies. They run the institutions, the major charities, the arms companies, the chemical giants, the media outlets, the police, the military. It's all just from one big poisonous tree. The virus, remember? Is that far-fetched to you? Okay. Now think, does that sound like modern day slavery to you? Quote, all lands were owned by gods and men were their slaves. Who owns the prisons? Who owns the companies gentrifying everywhere? Documentary says, they steal our land, then force us to pay to live there. We are controlled from our birth. We are given a number that moves with us throughout life. All them people that was fiending to get their social security checks, like, woo, we need that number to get health care, to be allowed to be indebted to the banks. I need a number to be allowed to owe you money, aka loans. To vote in freedom, need a social security number. To then they send us to war. They force us to purchase the property they said we owned. Who was just talking about wanting their 40 acres and a mule? Was it Mona? I think it was Mona. And they take away the children and our civil rights. Our intelligence is measured. Our education is controlled. Like, watch my numerology of 7 video. Because of a tangent I went on, I started thinking of how we deadass had to do the Pledge of Allegiance. And all it could make me do was think of in Avatar The Last Airbender, where they had to recite the Fire Nation something. And I was like, yo, that's very deja vu for a second. And I was like, wow, it really trickles all the way down. So our intelligence is measured, our education is controlled, all the way down to reciting a Pledge of Allegiance. Our education is manipulated, and we're charged for it. Bro, the concept of like college really is a scam, but like it's good to go to anyway. And depending on what you're trying to do, you need college. But like college is a scam regardless. Spoken as someone with a bachelor's degree in finance, like it's a scam, but it's necessary depending on what you're trying to do. The internet, think of the internet and going back to how they control literally everything. The internet is full of propaganda. It is the greatest tool for mind control, especially right now. And when you put small computers in everybody's hands, all the drugs sent out are mass tested in the US as if we're guinea pigs. And then to do the testing, they add monetary incentives in a world full of struggle that they created. Think of the Tuskegee. Think of the Tuskegee tests. Wow. All of our food is controlled the same way entertainment is. It's just, instead of that side of the branch, it's this side of the branch. The news is chosen by editors whose owners tell them what to choose. And the owners are all members of the bloodline. Universities apparently translate ancient texts. All of the ones that translate it are owned and run by the same elites / masters. Which then, if you have not seen Master on Prime Video, it's a movie featuring Regina King. Hall. Damn, I just made this distinction when I was watching it, and I forgot. One of them, if you know, they're both great actresses. I don't know about their lives because I just had to let go of Salma Hayek, and I'm actually very sad about that, but gotta go. If you haven't seen that, just watch that. And if you've never experienced or even conceptualized how the same generations or the same family will have power over the college, just watch Master on Prime Video. Then these same universities create quote unquote expert professors that we, the quote unquote idiots, should listen to. It's easy to win if you got your hand in everything. The powers that be will then tell us that the ancient historical texts that our ancestors wrote are religious myth at best. Okay. Thousands of people have seen UFOs, but the government covers it up. Made me think of the largest sighting being in Australia. Another random documentary I watched. Also great. The media will make a mockery of seeing UFOs because of direct orders. Like, the newscaster didn't sit in that day and make a decision. Are we going to talk about this or we're not going to talk about this? He's given a script of what to say. He reads off of a teleprompter. And since that's so understood, that me personally, that's what blows my mind about, like, so why are they admitting to stuff now? Doesn't make anybody else nervous? Just me? Okay, hold on. Moral of the story. These serpent-faced aliens came to Earth with fiery weapons and a strange craft. They're just our bizarre imagination. That's what they want us to believe. This is just a figment of our imagination. It was just something we dreamed about one time, just to push the concept of going to church and praying to an imaginary God who you make offerings to dead saints just for them to further yoke us into their systems. That's the conspiracy theory on how they took over. The Bible has the original stories of angels or supernatural powers with wings. Gabriel tells the story of a special coming of birth, or the coming of a special birth. The hybridization of humans and aliens. Because how else would he know that he has special powers? Like, he had to have seen it, been a part of it, something. Like, how else would you know he has special powers? To then tell us about it. Michael, he was the warrior, the protector. He accompanied the angels with the fiery sword. The cherubim were the exiles. Those exiled from their homeland, aka their planet. Think about the Egyptian pyramids. The one thing I remember from AP history, above all else, the one thing I remember from AP history is the reason that the pyramids are such a mystery. Or at least my professor brought up the fact that it's a mystery. Because at the time, if you look at the times, they didn't have the technology, quote unquote, the machinery to build the pyramids. So how the hell did they build the pyramids? They couldn't lift those gigantic blocks. The mystical Jewish literature speaks of angels that can fly, that tell the future, they shapeshift, they spoke Hebrew, and are emanations of divine shining light. How would you describe an extraterrestrial? Go. Okay. But yeah, that's the conspiracy theory. And those are just the important pieces. If you want to hear more details, watch the documentary. I guess I'll have to link the documentary each time, huh? Okay. Well, I know I did a lot of talking, but conspiracy theories have details. Like, I'm not one of the people who's just gonna hear something and believe it. Like, I need to know the details, and I have to know why it makes sense. And I'm very open-minded. But that's just me. If you made it to the end of the video and you don't know me, hi. My name's Naori. Stick around. You love it here. Duh. Embrace being a star. Subscribe. Follow all my socials. Boom. By the time you see this, I will be on my cruise. So, I'm fully disconnected. Like, I have no internet for 5 days straight, disconnected. But you guys will be getting a vlog from that. It's the holidays, man. I need a vacation. I have earned a vacation. This year, 2022, she's been wild. And I deserve a break. So I'm taking a break. But from engagement, not from activities, because you guys are still getting videos, duh. Yeah, so stay tuned for that. I'll see you in my next video. Bye. I'd rather be smoking weed.